Hey guys, just wanted to do my review and reaction to Arrow season 6, episode 22, "The Ties That Bind." So, if you noticed that this um, review and my flash review, they didn't have any like posters in the corner or reactions, just because I keep getting hit with copyright claims. So I think I'm just gonna anything that's CW related, I'm just gonna stick with just doing reviews. Um, I think I just might just stick with doing reviews just for the remain. I guess just for the remainder of um, just for the, because I might still do it with Supergirl reviews because I haven't been hit with any kind of copyright claims from doing reaction videos, but I've been starting to, but I don't know. That one's still up in the air. But I think just to play, but I'm still getting tired of having to submit copyright claims, and having to wait 30 days to hear back and trying to like follow the standards and all that. It's just easier for me just to have just like go back to square one, just do just breakdowns and reviews. But in any case, this episode is basically Ricardo Diaz basically just pretty much just going apeshit because his plans to have Oliver thrown in jail, you know, felt fell through, although it's ironic considering he was one of the people who kept chastising Kate and James for just not straight up killing Oliver when he had the chance, and now all of a sudden he's developed this mentality where it's like, oh, I can't make the Green Arrow a martyr, but, plot. Um, but at least, but considering, but on a positive note, even though, you know, Lila is insisting Team Arrow, who's like, they officially reunited, and they're basically working out of new team, the B team's bunker, which is the former Helix bunker, the former warehouse that Helix was operating out of back in season 5. Especially considering that Diaz, is pretty much on a warpath. He sends his thugs to break into the Arrow Cave because any idiot can break into that, and the security there is a joke, and basically completely destroys it. Um, and there's also the fact that and the other upside is that Oliver has been able to get Anatoly back on his side, so he's the one who sends him a cell phone warning when he's having dinner with Felicity and William that Diaz is launching an all-out war on the team, and where he sends like armed henchmen to attack him at his penthouse. He attacks Curtis at his apartment to the point where he guns down Curtis or his new boyfriend's injured in the line of fire and has to be put back in the hospital again. They attack. They try to ambush Dinah, but because of her power, she's able to escape. But they also attack Renee and Zoe at their apartment, but they're able to get out in one piece. But Oliver's the one who says like we got to proceed cautiously because like he's got the whole like law enforcement app, law enforcement at his disposal as well as resources from the quadrant. Um, and but because like Anatoly is acting as his mole, he's able to try to convince Diaz to move from his penthouse to just a more secure location, at least be out in the open, where Team Arrow tries to attack. I mean, they failed to get him just because, but Oliver notices, after he unfortunately stabs and incapacitates Ricardo Diaz, that he was basically just going for a necklace, and to the point where he abandoned taking the chance to kill Curtis. And the team is able to figure out that it's because like his necklace contains like a thumb drive, which is later to determine is basically the drive contains like all the people that's on Diaz's payroll, even though it's encrypted. But Felicity is like hell bent on trying to unencrypt it so that way they have like definitive proof to get out to the world of Diaz's conspiracy and how he's paid off like the whole Star City local government and Star City PD. The problem is that she can't make the decoder remotely, so she has to. So Lila is sent on site to try to, I guess, just do something where she's able to access from her iPod, like outside the police station. But Diaz figures out what's going on because he also has a computer guy working at on the police station who's being presumably coerced. He says like your grandmother's life depends on it, and make sure that the data is on this is still intact. Into doing his work, and he knows that the data is being copied remotely. So Lila gets cornered by the police, and then Oliver and Diggle have to come in and save her. But then, of course, Felicity risks her life to go into the police station and get to the try to get to the thumb drive. And she just barely escaped, and she's almost shot by Diaz, as not for Oliver firing an exploding arrow at Diaz as a means of allowing them to escape. And they have this whole back and forth where it's like, you have Oliver says like, "Oh, I don't want you going out into the field anymore. Going out into the field. I told you otherwise." And Felicity says, "I've been out in the field before and had to, risk my life at like Merlin Global, and Nanda Parbat, etc." And it says like, "Oh, but we're parents now." And it's like, if something happens to me, if something happens to both of us, then who's really going to turn to? And I can see both sides of the argument because I can see that Oliver feels like he has no guarantee. I mean, he has no guarantee of whether he's gonna make it which day is going to be his last, when it's like he's going to be able to make it home to see William. I mean, in spite of the fact that that whole fight with E. Barthon in The Flash, like episode 122, where he said he lives to be 86 years old. But the future was, the future is constantly in flux. And then, of course, there's Felicity, who has her point, was saying, it's like, yeah, I risked my life before. And then, of course, there's the other point where there's Iris, who doesn't have any superpowers, and has put herself has basically run into danger in spite of it. So, I mean, she has as much of a right to do that as she does. And I guess they even has a heart to heart talk with Diggle. And I just remember like the biggest takeaway from this, when he's talking to Diggle, is when he says like, "When I told you were spreading yourself too thin, I didn't mean like push away everyone and everyone and everything that gives you strength." Which, I don't know, it just seems like that's exactly. It was almost like even if it wasn't intending him to do that, it just feels like he had to like. He was telling him like, "Oh, you can't juggle all of this. Like you have to like give up something." But it did go back to my original idea, where it's like, okay, we spent all of season 5 like hammering us over the head, saying that there's strength in numbers, and he's better off like being around people who keep him grounded, as opposed to just being a lone wolf. I mean, I know everybody keeps saying it's like, oh, they don't like the team drama, and that Oliver was more badass when he was going solo, but that only lasted like the first 3 episodes of season 1, and then the first like maybe 3-4 episodes of season 1 until Diggle was told about it, and then Felicity was eventually brought into the loop at episode 14 of that season, because like he had to keep relying on her for so much stuff, and yet keep her in the dark about it. That he just figured it's like he might as well has just brought her on board to stop keeping her in the dark about it. So like I don't know where people get this notion where they want him to be this more Daredevil, Punisher-esque character, where it's just like he never truly was, or if he was, it was always like more short-lived than people remember. But but anyway, things sort and the thing that kind of comes to a head is the fact that Diaz realized he has a mole in his organization, but he assumes that Diaz rightfully assumes it's Anatoly because he basically has Black Siren captive, and he knows about Anatoly's history with Oliver, but he sweet talks him into thinking that it's the woman that he's working with in the quadrant, like one of the higher ups that betrayed her. As some way of saying it's like kind of trying to have leverage over Diaz, and he completely buys into it to the point where they have like a heated argument, and in the point where Diaz kills the woman, and even gets to the point where Diaz becomes so power hungry that he starts killing off the remaining members of the quadrant, save for one surviving member who just doesn't want to be hacked off. But like I said, like Diaz is kind of it become like far more on edge, and even to the point where now he's even able to send his forces to the Helix bunker that the team's working out of. Felicity still insists on staying behind and trying to decrypt the hard drive because they figure this is the only definitive proof they're going to have to expose Diaz and his operations. But the place is being gassed, under attack, and Oliver has to convince Felicity to leave. They'll find another way, and they actually get cornered by Diaz, in which because of he's Diaz is like knocking Oliver on the ground, and because Felicity is incapacitated because of the tear gas throughout the whole building, that as a last resort, and because of I guess something that new team ever put in, if the place ever came into siege, like set off a set of explosives in which it sends Diaz flying. He has like scars on his face when he eventually escapes, and Oliver and Felicity are able to get out of the building with everybody else. But now they've lost that. Now they've lost that hideout as well, and now they're forced to operate out of the Argus bunker until further notice. So, but Oliver becomes so desperate and out of options because of they lost the thumb drive, that now, and as much as it pains me to see this character again because she's been nothing but a one-note annoying character, is Oliver basically has to go to Agent Watson for her assistance under the conditions that one, and she only helps him under the conditions that one, he admits to her face, which he does, that he's the Green Arrow, and there's a second condition, and we don't hear what it is before it cuts to the title card and the opening credits, but it's implied. Based on tweets about from Stephen Amell, and talking about having to wear his old like prison jumpsuit from like episode 105, that is he's basically gonna have to go to basically fulfill Agent Watson's wishes and go to prison at the end of this. And Mark Guggenheim kept. And it's like, I think it was either Mark Guggenheim probably Mark Guggenheim, because he's just known for his hyperboles and overhyping the shit out of everything, that the season finale is going to do something in which, is going to change the series forever. It's going to be completely irrevocable. But it seems like Oliver is probably going to find, this is what he was talking about. And then the show's gonna go on for renewed for like a 7th season. So I can't see how whatever like legal loopholes Oliver's gonna have to go through, that he's probably gonna get out of. He's probably just gonna be in prison in the hiatus between seasons and just be out by the beginning of season 7, or it could be in reference to the fact that that one of the casualties of Diaz declaring war on them is going to be Quentin Lance. That Quentin Lance is going to be murdered by Ricardo Diaz because because of the fact that Paul, it's been spoiled in like social media and press releases saying it's like, oh, this is going to be Paul Blackthorne's last season, and so fans are able to naturally put two and two together. And there was like, and then of course there was like a photo, there was like a selfie of Katie Cassidy and Katie Lotz on the former Instagram page, in which they were, if you look at like the top left right hand corner, you can see like emergency for like they're filming the emergency room. So I think that's the reason why Sarah Lance comes back for the finale. It's not really going to be involved like helping out, against Diaz, because then they're going to address that whole plot hole as to why she's not bringing like more of the legends along with her. I think it's just going to be more of like she's somehow going to get the news via whatever distress signal that Felicity is able to send out to the legends when in case of a crisis. And she's going to be coming to the hospital just to be at Quentin's bedside and I guess say goodbye. And there's finally going to be a scene where, and we'll finally have a scene where Black Siren and Sarah interact for the first time. So that would be a cool thing to look forward to. I know people have been like clamoring for that, at very least for that to happen. But yeah, like I said, it's a pretty good episode. Definitely better than this week's Flash episode, because I feel like there's like they're, at least the writers on this show have the good sense to continue building up their momentum, getting that straight shot towards the finale, as opposed to Flash, where it just seems like, hey, let's just build up momentum and then just kill it with a filler episode and then try to pick up the pieces from there, which is just stupid. But anyway, guys, what do you think of this episode? And what are you looking forward to in the finale? Leave your thoughts in the comments down below. What other twists besides the ones I just mentioned do you think are going to be happening in the finale? Your thoughts in the comments down below. If you like this video, like, share, and subscribe, and I will talk to you guys soon. Take care.